Hello and welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be learning how to subtract a number from 3-digit numbers now. Take a look at this first example that I have. 100 minus 8. Let's start by looking at the ones column. Since we can't do 0 minus 8, we're going to have to borrow from the next column over. Since there's a 10 over here, we're going to treat it like one number instead of just one column. So instead of looking at just the 0, we're going to be looking at the 10 as a whole, because we can't borrow anything from just a 0. So what we're going to do is cross out the entire 10 and make it a 9. And here we're going to put a 1 to signify that we took one away. So, in the ones column, it's 10 minus 8 is equal to 2. And now we have a 9. So we just bring that down because there's an invisible 0 over here. So 9 minus 0 is equal to 9. And here we got the answer that 100 minus 8 is equal to 92. Let's try this again with a different example. Let's do 100 minus 28. For subtraction problems that require borrowing, it's a good idea to give yourself a little bit of space when you're working it out on paper. Between the numbers, I mean, so you can write the numbers that you carry over and cross out. Let's start by looking at the ones column. 0 minus 8, we can't do that, so we're going to have to borrow from the next columns over. And again, we're going to do what we did in the first example and treat these two columns as one number. So this is 10. We're going to cross out the 10, put in a 9, and then put a 1 over here. So now the ones column is 10 minus 8, which is 2. And now 9 minus 2 is equal to 7. So the answer to 100 minus 28 is equal to 72. Let's try another example. 267 minus 8. Let's look at the ones column. And since we can't subtract 7 minus 8, we're going to look to the next column to borrow a number. Here, we can treat the tens column just as one column. We're not going to say 26. So we're going to cross out the 6 only and put a 5 here. And then put a 1 here. 17 minus 8 in the ones column is equal to 9. There's an invisible 0 here, so 5 minus 0 is equal to 5. Another invisible 0 here means that 2 minus 0 is equal to 2. So the answer is 259. The reason why we treat both columns as one number in this problem and in the first problem was because we can't cross out just a 0 because we can't make it one lower when we borrow something over. So we treat the numbers in the hundreds column and the tens column as one number so we can cross it out and make it a 9. We don't have to do that here because we can do 6 minus 1 is equal to 5 and borrow one over. Let's try the next problem. 267 minus 26. 7 minus 6 in the ones column is equal to 1. 6 minus 2 is equal to 4. The invisible 0 here means 2 minus 0 is equal to 2. We didn't have to do any borrowing here, but we still got the answer to be 241. Let's try the next problem. 267 minus 78. Since we can't do 7 minus 8 in the ones column, we're going to have to borrow from the next column over. So the 6 becomes a 5, and we add a 1 in front of the 7. 17 minus 8 is equal to 9. 5 minus 7, we can't do that either. So we're going to have to borrow from the next column over. This 2 becomes a 1, and the 5, oh, sorry. The 5 becomes a 15 because we add the 1. So now we have 15 minus 7 is equal to 8, and 1 minus the invisible 0 is equal to 1. So the answer we get, 267 minus 78, is equal to 189. Let's try one last problem. 267 minus 79. 7 minus 9, we can't do that, so we have to borrow from the next column over. This becomes a 5, and we add a 1 in front of the 7. 17 minus 9 is equal to 8. 5 minus 7 in the tens column. We can't do that again, so we're going to cross out the 2, make it a 1, and then add a 1 in front of the 5. Now we have 15 minus 7 is equal to 8. Alright, now we have 1 minus the invisible 0 is equal to 1. We just found out that 267 minus 79 is equal to 188. That's all for today. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.